Let me turn this music down just a little bit. Just a little bit. Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. We are about to do knitting machine demo numero 5 in these streets. Hey, Maryland Success. How are you? Good morning, everybody. We're about to get started with our morning stretches. As always, we always want to stretch and take care of our wrists, our hands, our phalanges, so that we can continue to crochet and craft to our heart's content. All right, gonna give people a little more time to jump on. Today's video, we will be focusing on tips and tricks with the SENTRO knitting machine. I'm gonna share what some of my measurements are and also show some demonstrations on how it looks on different yarns. Alrighty, and like I said, in just a moment, we'll start with some stretches. I just wanna finish getting my notes together. This song always makes me think of that one Cosby episode. And Rudy on that stairs going, bye bye. Alright, let's get started with stretches. As always, you're just going to see one of my hands, just one of them, but I'm going to just do a few of the stretches. Let's move the machine for just a second. Slide it to the side. Alright. So I'm rotating my wrist around so that I can protect everything up in here. You want to do this with both of your hands. And you're going to want to go in both directions. These stretches are also super important and extremely helpful for if you work at a desk all day, if you're working on the computer for long amounts of hours. This can help with, carpal tunnel. I think they're all called the carpals and stuff up in here. So you want to be mindful of that. Another stretch is just when we're stretching our hands out and pulling them back in. Stretching our hands out, pulling back in. There go that part. Stretching them out and pulling them back in. Stretching them out and pulling them back in. And then my other favorite is touching my thumb to all the individual fingers. It's like a rabbit. Pressing one in together. Pressing them in. Pressing them in. Alright, some additional stretches. So we're going to take our hands and put them together and bring it down to the bottom right here of our wrist. You're going to feel the stretches right here in the back of your hand. Again, you're going to do this with both sides. Not just one side, but both sides, because both sides matter. We want to take care of both your right and your left, regardless of if you're right or left-handed. You'd be surprised how much you use both of them when crocheting, but also just kind of when doing everything. I am loving my nail color. Just want to say that out loud. I love me some mood changing nails, and I'm cold right now. So they are the darker, deep purple right now. Y'all can see it's like a sangria looking thing. I love mood nails. And then if I'm warm, let me see if I can warm them up. If I'm warm, then they'll go to like a lighter pinker color. Can y'all see the difference a little bit? It's gonna go back because I'm cold, so you can see that one's already changing back. They're changing back. But when I'm warm, the whole thing is this pinkish color. All right, but y'all don't care about that. Okay, let's get going on this SENTRO knitting machine. Okay, so we've already done reviews on the basics of it, where we thread in our yarn, how many pins we've got around, where the counter is, where the lever is, where the start is with the white pin that we're going to see pop up right here. You can see that that pin is white and different color. So this is how we know we are on spot numero 1. And so what we're going to show today is just a bunch of things we don't really want to do too often, because it's going to mess up your project. It could potentially mess up your machine. It's going to throw you off. So one of the first things that I want to share are the different kinds of yarns. So I have in front of me, so this is just your basic acrylic size 4 yarn. All right, so this tends to be the size that works the best in the machines. Okay, so the bulkier yarn, and I think it says it on the instructions as well, the bulky yarn is not really going to be your friend with the machine because it can easily get caught up in the pins, all fuzzies, and it's just a little bit more difficult to keep an eye on. But this is kind of the ideal yarn. Is again, it just kind of works through very easily when working the machine, and we'll show what that looks like in a moment. I've also got here, good morning, Dolly's Creations. I've also got here another style of yarn. So this is probably a red heart or something because I'm team red heart in these streets. But this is another kind of yarn, right? So I want to show how it's a little bit more of a shiny texture than this general basic acrylic yarn. And even though it is also size 4, it's kind of a bit skinnier, right? So with that in mind, let's hold these two up. So you can look at these and see how the orange is just a little bit more thick than the green one on the bottom. That is going to affect your tension and how you're working within your machine. So these skinnier yarns, they still work just fine. Let's be clear, they still work just fine. It's just that the measurements on your SENTRO will be a little bit different. So for example, if 3 inches, I don't know if this lets me zoom or not, but if 3 pins typically gives you 1 inch with size 4 yarn when it's unstretched, then you may need, the measurements may be a little bit different if you're using the skinnier yarn, because this, what I have my numbers based off of are off of the acrylic typical thick yarn, versus where I have here the double knit yarn where you'll need about maybe 4 pins to get 1 inch for your, hey loops and double hooks, good morning, that you'll need to get the same length of the 1 inch. So what I would suggest is to kind of create your own swatch, just like when we're typically crocheting, so that you can get a gauge for how it actually works with your tension and how that matters. So again, those measurements that I've shared in previous videos and I'll review again today are for how my tension typically works. All right, so this is the greetings. I'm just going to watch. I don't have my machine with me. No worries. All righty, so this is the thicker orange one. Like I said, this is the slightly skinnier green. They're both size 4. So I want to share a yarn that does not work very well at all. This bad boy right here. Now you can do it, and I'm gonna try and show it and use it in the machine today because we're purposely making mistakes, but I tried to run this one through the machine. It caused me some drama. It wasn't fun, and then we had to kind of get it all out, and you can see just the nature of the yarn in itself. It likes to be extra fuzzy, so naturally as you're working through the machine, it's going to get caught up. It's going to make it difficult to continue to do additional rows. So this kind of fun frilly yarn is not really going to be what you're looking for your knitting machine. Obviously it is great for lots of other projects, just not necessarily for this one. Similarly, I love me some Scarfie. I make so many projects with Scarfie because I just love how it's variegated. I love the colorways. It's just, I love these guys. But same thing, it's not nearly as bad or problematic as when you're using this one. You definitely can navigate this a little bit more, but just be patient. Decide in advance it's going to be all good. Y'all can see the nails are changing colors, so it's warmer now, and I'm still colder at the tips. It's probably going to keep changing throughout. Yeah, y'all can see the differences. Okay, but these can tend to catch themselves, right? Or unravel a little bit as you're working, especially if it gets caught in one of the pins. And so these can be a little bit difficult sometimes as well. Not impossible, but just a little bit difficult. All right, so let's get into our machine. I'm not using partner yarn per se today. I'm gonna swap through the different styles and colors that I just showed so we can see what they all look like. Here we go. And again, the goal of today, hey Scooter, is to show different things that you can do wrong and different ways to potentially fix them if they do go wrong. Here's an example here already. There's a knot in my yarn, right? If you don't catch these knots before, they will get stuck, not always going through, but coming out of the other side of your machine. And what I typically do when there's a knot, let's roll around because I'm going to leave that knot so we can show how to fix that. I'm also going to be just working on tube today, so we're just going to go around and around, but all of these tips and tricks will apply as well to panel. All right, so I'm threading my yarn through. Y'all know I don't have my tension bar because I broke it, so I just use the leg as my tension. I'm going to do it right-handed today. I don't know if you can see the lever or not. And I'm grabbing from underneath the yarn to make sure it's staying. I'm lying, because first thing I actually need to do is the first row. Sure do. And you can see the knots already getting in the way. All right, but I'm lying to y'all's faces. Let me get this first row started. So I might need to add another knot later on in the yarn so y'all can see that. So again, always remember first row, you're going front, back, front, back, front, back. You want to be careful with this. Something to be mindful of, and that I did on accident a few times, was accidentally skip and go and miss. So I went behind this one and I'm going behind this one. And I'll show y'all what happens when you do that. Let's skip a few more. So I'm going behind these two in a row. This is not what you're supposed to do. This is us intentionally making mistakes. I'm going to go in front of those two, which is not what you're supposed to do. And now I'm going to do these correctly. And we're going to see exactly what happens when you don't do it right. Okay. Doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. All the way around. Okay. I'm back to the beginning. Going around my white peg. I've got my tension good to go. And there is a knot down here waiting to get in the way. All right. So what I'm going to do is start to make sure everybody can see it. I'm just going to start doing my rows like my row like normal. And see if we can see when the knot is coming. See this knot coming right here? If I just, and it's not the biggest knot, so it probably won't get too much in the way, but if I just let this go in there, which I don't really want to do, but if I just let it go, it can either get stuck here. Good morning, lot of love. It'll either get stuck right here at the beginning, or it'll get stuck here on the other side. So what I tend to do is lift it up, hold it taut. Right? Can y'all see? I'm holding it taut so it's still going up under the lip of the pins, and then just guiding it myself with my hand. So my hand is cranking it on this side until I get past the knot. So the knot's now over here. It's right there, actually. I'm going to keep on rolling it, still holding it taut. Now I know the knot for sure is gone. I'm now going to take my yarn and pop it right back through. Make sure the yarn is still going underneath of the pin. Make sure it is threaded through and down all the way. Make sure my tension is still lined up, and then I'm going to keep working. All right, and remember, we also purposefully did rows incorrectly when we first started, so we will see in just a moment how that messes things up. Another thing you want to keep in mind, for all of us who have been crocheting for a while, we know that there are two ends to each skein. You can either pull from the middle or you can pull from the outside. I would 100% suggest pulling from the middle so that you don't have a bunch of yarn kind of rolling around, getting all jumbled up and in the way. All right, I'm going to put this back to the side. But just so you know, everything I'm using today, I'll be pulling from the middle. All right, you can also see that I am grabbing and pulling my yarn taut anytime I'm starting and stopping, especially because when I don't do that, I had the occasional issue of the yarn being too loose or the stitches being inconsistent. Okay, so again, it all comes back to tension. All right, so I'm going to do a couple rounds like this. I use rounds and rows interchangeably with the knitting machine because depending on if I'm doing a tube or a panel, it can be either or. And either way, we're going round and around and around. So y'all get it. Y'all get it. And if you got a question, let me know. All right, so I'm going to keep going around. But we can see here is one of the places where I skipped. So you can already see that there is yarn dangling. There's another example of where I skipped. And you can see it's dangling. It skipped over because we didn't start it correctly. So always make sure when you're doing your first few rounds and starting with your partner yarn that you are not skipping anything because it's not going to be able to catch. You see how those loops back there don't have no friends? It's because when we started, we didn't do it correctly. And so it's funny because I didn't keep an eye on where specifically I messed up, but we can very easily see exactly where it is, and you can see the difference. So these don't have those dangly pieces and those lips, but the spots where we skipped definitely do. All right, here's another example. So y'all can see we messed up here, messed up here, messed up right here, and messed up right there. Versus the ones where we appropriately went back and forth, we ain't got them kind of problems. Okay. So like I said, the goal of today is to show you tips and tricks, show you some of the many things I did wrong when first learning this machine. I believe I've got a pretty good handle on it now at this point. And if I'm messing up, it's just straight up my fault, and I knew better. If you knew better, you do better. Well, I'm trying. All right, so I'm going to keep rolling around. Now, pretend my tension is off, right? Because that happens all the time. Or pretend, I'm going to show you guys, that my yarn down here isn't filed through all the way. And I'm actually going to just lift it a little bit. Let me see if I can get my nail in there. So that it's come apart, right? So maybe I kind of had it. I'm going to see if I can get it through that side, but it's not all the way down there. And this will sometimes happen, and it happened to me pretty often when I first started working with the machine. Again, why I push for you guys to make sure you're pushing it through all the way. I'm going to show you what happens when you continue knitting and it is not in there correctly. I bet you can guess it ain't good. So even if I pull it a little taut like I just did, make sure everything is in frame for y'all. So now when I work, if you look right here, it is missing like crazy, right? Miss. Look right here. Watch these pins as they just continue to miss, continue to fail me. Oh, and it finally caught it, right? So we now have a whole gap because it came out of its track. Does it keep count or row, or we have to keep the count? Awesome question. I'll get to that in just 2 seconds. I just want to finish this part. So if you miss it and it's off track, it's not going to catch, and you can see it's even throwing off the counters here. Now, loops, double hooks, to your question, when you are working in rounds and it is down here on tube, then yes, it will count for you every time you go past the white peg. Next time we go past the white peg, I will point it out, but it will count for you. So we've done 7 rounds or rows at this point, right? Now, if you are working left-handed and operating your hand in this direction, so right now I'm on right side and operating my hand this direction. When you're operating from the left, it'll count down from 1000. So instead of row 7, we would be on row 993. So that's just something to keep in mind. Super good question. Additionally, when I am doing the panels, for example, when I made the sweater, when I've made a few skirts and dresses, I've downloaded a counter on my phone, and I use an app and I just tap it because it will not count for you when you are doing the panels. Or at least I ain't figured out how to have it count for me and to be effective when doing the panels. Alrighty, so now I also want you to see, so it will eventually self-correct. So we saw here where I had purposely pulled it out. It wasn't tracking, but it was at the very least in the loops. After I did a few more pins, it got itself back together, and it is now catching itself under the pins again. But we're going to see as we continue working exactly where that hole is and what it looks like. So I'm going to keep it rolling. Pull out some more yarn. Keep it rolling. This orange is so pretty. All right. And the other thing about this knitting machine, I'm just going to, again, we're making all the mistakes, is you can't really go backwards, right? So say I was like, oh crap, I saw that I made this mistake. If you rewind it backwards, I want you to see, because this works in panels, right? And it works both ways, that it is going to then start to work in the opposite direction. So just like when you're working in panels and it skips about 1, 2, 3, and then starts to catch, that's exactly what just happened here. So it skipped these 3 and now it's catching. So you can't really rewind your work per se after you've made a mistake like that. All right. So what you want to do instead, I'm going to get up to it. Everybody see? This is going to be the hard part to show. I don't have a teenager here today, but that's all right. So what you want to do, if you have one, is to get yourself, and hold it, this is a very old, very vintage crochet hook from, I think my grandmother had this, like this thing, I think it was like 10 cents. If y'all can see, these are very, very old hooks here. All right, so don't judge me on my hooks. These are my family hooks. All right, so what you do if you've made this kind of mistake, which I made a whole bunch, which is how I figured this out. And let me make sure you can see it. I'm gonna lower my camera just a little bit. Okay. So this should allow you guys to see. So we know when the pins are coming up that we can kind of use that as an opportunity, right? So what I've started to do, if I've made this kind of mistake, we've got this piece of yarn that is just completely jacked up here, right? And I know I can't go backwards. So what I'm gonna do is take a super small hook. I'm going to release this part, right? This is the working yarn that is currently connected to my skein. This is the loop that's getting ready to get kicked over to this side, right? Because that's how the machine is working. I'm going to grab the yarn that was missed, bring it in front of, hey, Miles of Royalty. I'm going to bring it in front of the pin, just like that. And then I'm going to take this hook and grab this piece and loop it over. All right, let me see if I can put my money where my mouth is. It can be difficult to catch it sometimes, which is why I use such a small hook to do this. Alrighty. I'm gonna pull this out all the way so we can clearly see it. All right, can you guys see how I have this grabbed right here? Or are you just seeing my hand? Okay, so I've got this piece lifted up. I am going to, hi Nick Coffee. I'm going to keep it rolling and bring it down just a little bit so that I'm not stretching the yarn. Bring that piece behind, and we'll do another one because I'm sure I'm fumbling between navigating the camera and doing these little pieces. And pull that piece, so this piece right here, I'm going to push it over. All right, now before it closes, you want to still get this piece underneath, because again, we are catching it and fixing our mistake. All right, wanted to turn in, been debating on getting this same machine. It is so awesome, I can't lie. I very much enjoy it. It is still work. It cuts down time with some projects, but not with others. And then the sewing in piece at the end and stuff, you know, you still got to hit those crochet skills. But I really, really like it a lot. And I know some other of my fellow crocheters have grabbed one, and they've really been enjoying doing the demos with me. And just like, you know, we about to be knit machine masters out here. So join us. And I do have links to this particular machine as well if you want to learn along with us. All right, you guys, I'm going to show again. So our mistake is still back here, where we had this piece of yarn that was not connected. I don't know where I put that little crochet hook, but once again, I'm going to keep rolling it so that the pin is a little bit further down. I am removing this, and you don't have to keep tracking it. You can hold it and kind of taut it, but I'm trying to make sure I show you guys all the parts right now. So again, I want to bring this in and bring this up first. Why are we bringing this piece up first before doing this part? Because again, just like crocheting, it has to catch on to something. So if I was to just bring this in and then keep rolling, we'll probably have a hole. And matter of fact, let's do that so we can show it on the next round. Let's skip it on this one. All right, we're gonna skip it here and show how it gets us a hole. And we'll still let that go up underneath of both of those, because what are we doing today? Showing all the mistakes. You don't want to get up under there. You're going to act funny again for the camera. You so funny acting. All right, so we're not going to do those correctly. And we'll come here to fix this one. Okay, so once again, and it does get tighter. So we've made a mistake, right? So we've just kind of made life a little difficult for ourselves right now. So as we are adding the loops and pulling them in, it is going to get tighter. All right, so with those last two ones, we did it incorrectly. We're going to do this one correctly. So again, I'm going to pull this forward first. All right. And you do got to bring the pins down a little bit for it to even actually make it over. So I'm pulling it forward, making sure it is caught up under that lip. I am taking my super duper tiny crochet hook and I'm going to obstruct your vision for a second and try to get this loop. Can everybody see what loop I'm actually pulling up? I hope so. It is the one that will be right there down. And sometimes you can push the pins a little bit. I just don't be too strong about it because they can pop and break. So like I said, if I feel like I don't have enough room to comfortably kind of bring it over, I will bring it down even a little bit more. But I'm being cautious. There we go. So I've pulled that back. But I'm being cautious not to go down too far to make sure, because we're correcting it, that I can bring the yarn that is connected to my skein that's being threaded through the machine, right, underneath of that pin. Who's bad? Doom, 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 doom. Okay. All right, so I'm making sure I can get that up under there. It is underneath. Everybody see that? Yay. All right, I'm going to do it again. Make sure you stay caught, boo. All right, so that one's holding on. So once again, oh no, that was the last one. All right, so once you finish correcting that piece, you're going to once again thread your yarn through, and we already showed what happens if you don't get it all the way down. So make sure, as always, it's popped through the hole in the front and popped through the hole in the back. Make sure your tension is right. You can help it along if you want to, just to make sure it is going to get caught up under that lip. We always will always want it to get caught under the lip, and then you can get rolling again. If there are any questions, please let me know. If that wasn't clear, let me know. I can mess it up again. I'm really good at messing it up. But yeah, oh, that was the white pin. Let me roll it around again so you can see the white pin. Another way to know when the end of your project is coming, from the way I work it, the tail will always tell you when you're getting ready to come up on it. So there's a white pin that's going to pop up here, but also the tail will give you a great indication of when it's time, getting ready to be time. And that helps me with counting my rows and things as well. So the tail is getting ready to creep up. So y'all are going to see a white pin in just a moment. Boom. Everybody see him? Say, hey, boo. All right, so this white pin is what's going to tell it to count again. Alrighty. And the breakdown of just kind of all the different components and pieces to this are in demo number 1, I want to say. So it'll give you a little bit more of a clear explanation because I know I'm rolling over it right now. Okay, so we talked about not going backwards. We talked about how things look when you skip stitches. We talked about how to fix it if you skip a stitch. And when we take this off, what time is it? 12:28. When we take this off, I'll also show you how to fix stitches after you have taken it, removed it from the machine. Okay, yay. So, hello, how amazing. All right, so y'all see this little funky piece right here? So we know with our size 4 yarns, we know with most of our yarns, it's splitting up, right? So sometimes if you've been using a piece of yarn over and over again, like I said, I use donated yarn for my demo. So sometimes it gets a little scraggly and it gets stuck. This is going to happen. And I'm so glad it happened so that I could show you guys. Hey, Sweetie G. So when this happens, take note of which piece it's supposed to go to, if it's part of this bottom loop here or the top, and then just fix it. But definitely catch it because you want to avoid it being, I'm going to try to turn it so you guys can see. Okay, it's stuck because of it. I want to make sure y'all can see it clearly. So this needs to come up and over. Alrighty. Give me one second. Make sure you guys can see it. I should probably use the hook. Alright. So this piece needs to be joined together with itself. So I'm actually going to let it keep going a little bit so that it can go down. So I can fix it. Because again, if it's a little bit lower, it's not as taut. So now I've got that little straggly piece is back with its main piece. And I'm putting all of it behind because that's what it was doing. Alright. Pulling this taut again. Get yourself together, buddy. And then keep rolling. And we'll see that one because it's going to be, that stitch will be a little bit more loose than some of the other ones. All right, here we go. So this machine does get caught on occasion. especially when I keep starting and stopping and purposely making things go wrong. It really is kind of smooth though, once you learn how to navigate all of these hiccups. Like I said, I wanted to show as many mistakes today as possible because I just found them really helpful. Once I figured them out, I was like, oh, we rolling. So I want everybody to be rolling in these streets with me, okay? All right. Little Michael singing in the background. This is my song. They're all my songs, but especially this one, so we can see little funny acting stuff right here, right? We can show how to tighten and clean those up. There is some sewing involved with knitting machines. There's still crocheting involved with knitting machines, which is why I say I'm still not a knitter at all. I don't know how to knit. I just know how to work this here machine. All right, I'm gonna go around one more time so you guys, again, can still see the tail. And for, I forget who asked, but so you can hear the noise it makes when the counter goes. Okay, that wasn't loud enough. But every time that white pin's coming up, that means another row is being counted. Did y'all hear it that time? All right, so what we're gonna do is now switch colors so we can see what different styles of yarn look like. This is how I do my machine whenever I'm switching colors, especially if I'm about to do something with stripes or I've got, you know, a bunch going on. I'm going to put it in the middle. Y'all know I love to do crochet portraits, and it's just a habit I have to try to keep everything as contained and neat as possible. Because y'all also know I will crochet anywhere, and I need my yarn to be organized so I can do that. All right, so I'm changing my colors. All you got to do to change colors is pop it in. When you're actually doing a project, make sure you're popping it in at the right spot and in the same place so that it can be consistent and even. But again, we're just trying to show all the things today, so I ain't really worried about it. Okay, so this is also a size 4 yarn, but it's much skinnier. Everybody see that? So let's see how it looks different, or if it'll look different at all. It's definitely gonna look different. Okay, so as a reminder, I will, anytime there's a new color coming in, I will hold on to the yarn from the inside and do a few pegs first before just rocking and rolling, just to make sure that it's holding on. Because if you don't, if you're not intentional about making sure it gets up under there, the first couple stitches, you will get lots of the holes that we got from before. You're gonna get holes. Now this, again, as you guys, is because what did we do? We skipped stitches on purpose, but on accident, right? If theoretically it was on accident when we were setting up our foundation. So because of that, there's all these open spaces. Oop, do better make sure you can see. Okay, all these open spaces. All right, let's keep rolling. So when you have lighter and thinner yarn, it does roll much more smoothly. It has less potential of getting caught up. But again, the measurements, right? The measurements that we are, if you're like me and want to write all over your stuff, that you're going to have are going to be a little bit different. So you do want to make yourself a little swatch. You know what I should have did? I'm going to restart this and then do about 10. So let's just show everybody's on 0. And then we're going to do like 10 more rows. If you have additional questions, I think I've touched on a lot of the questions I received in my messages and DMs thus far. But if I have missed any pressing questions or anything that you've been running into, let me know. I will try to demonstrate it or address it or save it for another video. Shoot. You can focus on whatever y'all need. This green and orange is perfect for Halloween. Did I do that on purpose? We can pretend I did. All right, gonna keep on rolling. And I said I want to do 10 rows. I might have lied. So this is where this machine is a workout. Alrighty. Again, it is not for the weak. It's making my little arm muscles strong. And it's also why I make sure that I use it on both my right side and my left side, because I don't want like a super strong Popeye's muscles on my right side and then looking like olive oil on the left side. Don't nobody want that. Nobody want that. All right, we're gonna keep on rolling. Okay, I'm at 8 rows. I'm gonna do 2 more. And then we'll switch colors. Okay. There is a mistake here. Awesome. Y'all see how this is all bunched up and caught up here? We need to fix that. I didn't even see that. Okay. So what's going on here is that at some point it caught itself but did not release the previous loop. So again, I've got to work this till it's towards the front of the machine so that the hooks are up where I can manipulate and fix it without taking the whole project apart. Because again, we can't just rewind this thing. All right, so let's turn it this way. Can y'all see? It looks like a wave. Do y'all see how much yarn is stuck right here right now? A whole bunch. Popeye and olive oil. Right, I guess you got to be a certain age to understand that reference. I know I was saying something to my daughter the other day, just like everyday conversation for me, but she definitely made me feel my age because I guess it was like, I don't know, what did I say? I don't know, something about it. It's something like as if I was talking about being all up in the Kool-Aid and don't know the flavor, right? Something we've said a million times. She was just looking at me like, what are you talking about? I was like, what you mean what I'm talking about? That wasn't what it was because she knew about Kool-Aid, y'all, but she was judging me. She was judging her mother. All right, so I just lifted this whole part. I'm taking my little hook here. And again, I want to make sure that it is holding on. So I've got the loop at the top. I'm pulling it inside of that. So just like when we were fixing it before, and I'm coming up and grabbing the loop from beneath and lifting that one over. Just like, oh, it was a bugaboo, y'all. That's what it was. A bugaboo. She was like, what the heck? What's a bugaboo? I said, now I know you know about Destiny's Child and Beyonce and all that. And she was looking at me so crazy. And I felt old. I felt so old. Like, what you mean you don't know what a bugaboo is? Okay, so we're getting ready to get started again. Making sure that the working yarn, the piece that's connected to our skein, is underneath of the loop and pulling tight. All right, and we're gonna keep going. And y'all see I've got other mistakes here, so we can do that. Looks like 2 more times. How generous of me. 1, 2 more times. All right, here we go. And it's something that'll happen. It just takes time and practice and paying attention and not shooting a video while you're talking. All right, so once again, I'm going to lift all of this up so you can see how it's got orange jumbled up in here and a few rounds from the green. Okay, I'm gonna lift all of this up and over because for the most part it will have caught itself, and if it didn't, we can fix it in post. Alrighty, now again, we've purposely made a lot of mistakes with this, so I'm not surprised it's getting caught in a lot of random ways. Okay, so same thing. I've already got the most recent piece there. I'm pulling this up and over. All right, and y'all can see how loose it is. This is also the part where, which is adding to why it's messing up, we didn't start it right? So it'll mess itself up in a whole lot of ways if we don't start it off right, okay? But there's always a way to fix it, so I'm gonna keep it rolling. White peg means what? We're back at the beginning. We're going to go around one more time so we can finish and fix this last jumbled piece right here. Y'all see it again? Now you can back up like a peg, but like real talk, do not go too far. You will be frustrated, disappointed, salty, all the words you ain't trying to be when crafting. That's the opposite of why we craft. Okay, so I'm going to pop this off. I'm so excited to be doing this video, y'all, because I made all the mistakes when I first got this thing. And I was like, I want to tell everyone so that y'all don't got to do this too. And we can just do the fun part of making things. Alrighty. I'm going to get up in there. There's a lot going on here, child. All right, roll this back some so that we can actually get around it. Now we are finally down to just the one. Here we go. Looping that around just like that, And then once again, to get rolling again, we want to make sure the working skein is going underneath. Pulling things taut all the time so that it can actually flow. Is this helpful? Have you learned something? Do you have questions? Talk to me. All right, rolling around. Y'all can see all the sisters' mistakes. I'm here for it. Messed up, right? And now we can see the difference here where it's more consistent and clean versus where we skip spots on the pegs. I love it. Y'all see these big old gaps, right? Because we was messing up. Okay? But the beauty of messing up is it'll teach you how to do something new for next time. And I'll show y'all how you can use these kinds of things to make a different kind of pattern, different kind of stitches for your sweaters and whatnot during another video. But messing up like this helped teach me how to make patterns and whatnot, which is my jam. Alrighty. That's enough of the green. Everybody can see the green. Everybody can see the orange. All this green yarn, so I'm gonna remove. We're gonna do the black and white next because I have a feeling once we put in, we're gonna do this one next, right? The scarfie. Because I have a feeling once I put this one in, it's gonna really give me a headache, child. So we're gonna do that last because I don't know how far the machine, how long it'll work for it. All right, adding in a new color, so y'all saw again. And I wrapped my green around, whatever my last peg is, I wrap it around on this side. Oop, on this side of it. And if I'm working left-handed, I'll wrap it on this side. But I'm working right-handed, so I'll wrap it around this side to make sure it is caught. Taking my scarfie, same thing. And I'm also going to put my scarfie on this side. If you are not, let me make sure you can see. If you are not intentional about wrapping it on the right sides, then you'll drop a stitch or miss a space. And again, have a hole or two in these streets. All right. Using my hand underneath to grab, make sure that the tension is there for me. And we're going to get rolling. So it's also important to note, so when you're switching, especially between different textures of yarn, you'll sometimes have some hiccups. So your first row or so, hey, my earthy goddess, how you doing? Your first row or so, you want to definitely be mindful so we don't have those situations like we just had with the greens and the orange. So I'm going to hold it taut and I'm going to be patient. And I'm going to keep an eye on it. Oh, I also want to show y'all. So this is what it normally looks like. There's always a loop right here and then the rest of the work is falling beneath it. You can see that. So even as we're pulling in this black, all these have the black and gray right now for the first, but it's hard to see because it's in the background right now. So the next chain is when you'll see the black right here where those green spots are. All right, cruising. Let's restart the counter so we can keep an eye on that. Okay, white pin says that we've made one round. We restarted just in time. And you can see that one is there, okay? All right, now let's get rolling. This kind of yarn also likes to hug on itself, right? Which is why it might make it difficult in here. So I gotta untangle this bad boy right quick. Does anybody else like untangling the yarn? It's kind of fun to me and a little bit therapeutic. Hi, Made by Martha, but not when I'm doing a video. Not right now, yarn, not right now. All right, there we go. Sang, little Michael. Okay, here we go. And around we go. Okay, y'all heard the noise. That means we finished another round. So it's not getting too caught right now, which is appreciated. Okay. All right, I'm going fast, even though I shouldn't be. So we can look at it and see now, right? We've done a round or two. It's just the black yarn that's here. You can also see when you're going too fast, stuff can get caught up. So I'm going to fix that right now. So having a super skinny little hook really, really, really is super helpful. Okay. Just like that. I'm not going to do too many rounds of this because I don't want no problems with my machine. And again, this yarn likes to do stuff like this. And I'm still pulling this from the center, so it could be much, much worse. But just something to keep in mind. Oh, also, when you are adding new yarn, be careful not to accidentally leave it like that, right? Because that happens. Maybe you're not paying attention. Maybe you're rolling and it can get stuck in different ways and cause your project to not look uniform, clean, and consistent like you like it. Okay, so I also want to show, so this is a thick piece coming up right here. These will, for the most part, slide on through no problem. But again, that's something that may get it caught up later because they're like little crochet hooks, right? Little plastic crochet hooks. So it went in just fine. It's right here. But it's going to now be a thick spot, and that's more on the yarn, people, than the machine, let's be honest. But this is irking me, y'all. We did it again. All right, so this is finna be the last round because I ain't got time. All right, here we go. And we saw the white peg go up, so I'm going to go ahead and switch colors. All right, same thing again. I'm switching. I'm going to put it on that side, all right? Yep, I got a whole bunch of yarn in the middle. Let's see how far we get with this. Same game. And then I'm going to release. I hope it will release with this yarn. So you can see even just putting it in here, it's not really, it's already getting caught on just little things in that. So let's see. Wrap it around, get my tension going. I'm holding on to it to start. Are you giving me a headache already? Okay. Here we go. So y'all can see it getting caught right here. It's variegated, so it's going to keep changing colors, all right? Okay. You can hear the machine is working much harder than when it was on the light green color. I don't have the sturdiest table, but you can see how much more it is shaking. I do love this noise, though. All right, we are stuck on something. 9 times out of 10, when you're stuck, you just need to push yarn back and just kind of check your plates. And what I mean by checking your, I don't know if this is the right word for it, but it says like this spot, I kind of press down in the areas behind the pegs, because where the pegs come out, behind them, because usually something is just a little too tight. So I do it probably within a range of 6 of this main thing here if you feel your work getting tight, okay? So if it's tight and it's not budging, check your pins if there's yarn stuck up top, and if not, check your pins on the bottom. Then you should be good to go. Yep. Can y'all hear how much louder it is? My machine is like, girl, why are we doing this? So the people know, man. So the people know. All right, here we go. Yeah, y'all, this ain't gonna last long. Okay. Same thing again. When it's too thick, it gets caught. So it looks like it might have been caught there. Might be caught right there. So I'm just pressing down in the areas behind it. Okay. There you go, baby. Uno más. And then we'll jump off here, I promise. Hey, STL. Hey, lady. How are you? All right. So y'all, again, don't use the fluffy, chunky yarning machine because this is what will happen. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. I'm done. Y'all done with this? I'm done. All right, so I'm going to take this, put it in the middle because I'm done with it. Same thing, though. I want it to go underneath and on that right side. Now, we don't really have partner yarn and all that stuff in here because, again, today is just all about demo. So what I'm going to do now is roll it around. This is my hand going like that. I'm going to roll it around a couple times. It's going to release, and we're going to look at the differences in the different yarns on the machine. All right, so I've gone around once. It's now starting to release, so I can feel the difference when I'm pulling. Y'all can probably hear the difference. Knowing I use this puffy yarn, though, I'm not sure how clean of a release I'm going to get, but we finna find out. So far, it's let go of some of them, but not all. So you see how this yarn gets stuck? I ain't making it up, y'all. This yarn is not for this machine. Okay. Flat surface, flat surface, flat surface. Which y'all just saw with me fighting because I got all that yarn in the middle. Flat surface is your friend. All right, so I've gone around a couple times where normally it would have all released at this point, but it's not because we're making mistakes today, right? So you can see this fluffy yarn didn't want to let go. So I have to now go in and release it. Why is this an issue? So if you are using partner yarn, it is now going to have your partner yarn a little bit more jumbled up where you're trying to work, right? If you're doing what I'm doing, which is trying to learn to not even use partner yarn because I don't like wasting yarn, it's going to make the stitches in your casting off that much more problematic. You see this? It just is not for it. Come here, baby. Come on. Okay, that one's off. And because of how chunky and fuzzy it is, it's actually caught like this in more than a few places. So this just ain't what you want. Because I like to be able to pop it off and be like, I did it, yay! And then get to the fun crocheting parts. But we can't do that until we get all of these off. Y'all see how many these are? If you've seen the other videos, you've seen how much more smooth and easy it is to release your work when you're done. Okay? We're almost done-ish. Again, the good thing about messing up is that you are that much less likely to do it again next time. And that's all we can hope. As crafters, we know a lot of life is trial and error and adding our own touch to it. But these mistakes ain't it. You can avoid these and add some other touches to it. Are you done yet? Ah, Dios mío. I know I received a phone call. Hey. I don't know what happened with the sound. I know I received a phone call, but I thought it would have kept going. I'm so sorry about that. That is wild. Instagram has been definitely fighting me a bit more with these videos. They used to let me download them when finished, and that has not been a thing anymore. So when I record the videos, hey Loops, welcome back. It used to let me download them as soon as they were finished, and nowadays I have to like immediately post it to my page just so I can try to save it and access it later, because it's not letting me save them to my phone anymore, which is, you know, what I like to call frustrating, but here we are. Okay, perfect. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear the sound again. I don't know how much you heard, so I'm going to repeat just a little bit. Bear with me. So again, hey Dorinda. So again, these are individual pins. These are individual pins. These are individual pins. Now let's be clear. Y'all know, again, we were purposefully making mistakes. So normally it will look a lot more even, right? Versus when we were up here, we weren't making as many mistakes. We were just kind of rolling, other than the parts where we messed up on our foundation, right? So just something to keep in mind. All right, so where were we? So I was showing you guys the differences in size. So these are 3 pins right here. 1, 2, 3. 3 pins right here on our typical medium weight 4 yarn acrylic, versus this is also medium weight 4, but it is a lighter yarn. It is a little bit more thin. Okay, so you can see the differences here, and that's why on my machine, my measurements I have for double knit, I have measurements for medium weight, and also stretched versus unstretched, because 3 pins ironed out versus 3 pins together, you're going to get different measurements and sizes. So again, at this point, you just want to take your measuring tape and measure with your attention and your style what an inch is going to look like, what it looks like both up and down, right, going the rows and rounds, and also what it's looking like just widthwise. Okay, so the other things, just again looking at how it presents differently on different styles of yarn. So this was the thinner medium weight 4. This was our fuzzy scarfy. Okay, perfect for socks and whatnot right here. And then this beast of a bad boy that we know we will not ever do this one again. Okay, and we can also see where we did not start correctly and how we have holes throughout our work as a result. it's still holding on, but it's super, it's not uniform, right? So what you want to do, let me grab a different size crochet hook. I usually use between H, I, and J depending on the project, size of the stitches and whatnot. I don't know that this is the right size. I'm just gonna, again, we're just demoing today. The goal is not to make things pretty. The goal is to show you what to do. So we've got all these pieces that are loose and aren't together. You're going to go underneath of the bottom one that's available. So let's say we're gonna work it from, I'm not even gonna work from here because there's so much going on. But we're gonna work it from this last orange piece, right? I'm going to grab the green and loop it, right? So I'm gonna go underneath, let me come close. Underneath of the next one above and loop it. Underneath the next one above and loop it. Underneath the next one above and loop it. And what that is doing is connecting our work the same way the other stitches are. Good morning. Let's see. Little shy girl. Good morning. All right. So let me show you again. So the stitches that you've dropped, you'll go, after you have it on your loop, you'll go underneath. And we're just slip stitching, right? So a lot of us are crocheters here. We're slip stitching so that it will look the same as the stitches that were created on the machine. Can y'all see that? All right, I'm gonna keep going. Do a few more so we can see it clearly. Loop it, oop, doop, doop, back it up, back it up, back it up. And yes, these can and will come apart with ease. If you're not careful, it don't take much. But again, so even though we're showing all the different ways to do this wrong today, this machine is great. It really is. I'm so ecstatic that I've found it, that I met it. We about to be best friends, because there's just a lot you can do with it. And if you want to join us in learning how to better navigate this machine, to do different projects and whatnot with me, there are links to these specific machines in under my favorite things on my website. All right, so you can see now, I think we were down here through the middle, and this is where I messed up, so that's on me, but how it looks the same. Okay, so that is how you fix those holes, because sometimes that's going to happen. Alrighty, and then once you get to the top, you know, you can sew things in and whatnot. Okay, alrighty, I think we did a lot. I think we achieved our goal today. We saw all the different ways to mess up on our machine, different things that we are not going to be doing when we're working on our knitting machine. I will do my very best to get this onto YouTube, get the whole thing. But like I was saying at the beginning, before it cut my sound, Instagram's been a little bit of a bully lately, but we're going to figure this out. Okay. Thank you guys, as always, for hanging out with me. Just Designs, you just missed it. I'm wrapping up, man. But this will be on YouTube. Thank you guys, as always, for hanging out. I've been Dee with DeeplusDesigns. Happy crocheting and enjoy your Saturday, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. Talk soon. Bye. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy